Hi everyone, I am Neha Agrawal. I'm the founder of WiseUp Communications. We at WiseUp help students and young professionals in improving their communication skills through interactive workshops. Today we have with us Hitesh Agarwal, a final year undergrad student of NTU Singapore. In this video, Hitesh is going to share with us the application procedure, scholarship availability, and his unique experience at NTU Singapore. So without further delay, let's get started. Hi Hitesh, thank you so much for joining us. Could you please tell us something about yourself?
Yep, sure. So first of all, thank you so much for having me here. It's an absolute pleasure to be invited to your channel. I am Hitesh Agarwal. I'm a final year student studying data science and artificial intelligence at NTU Singapore. So in the past 3 years at NTU, I have interned at various companies ranging from startups to MNCs like Singapore Airlines.
Amazing.
And I'm also very actively involved in co-curricular activities like canoeing, organizing events, public speaking, and many more.
Nice. So great to hear. So, Hitesh, people want to know about the entire application process when it comes to undergrad applications in Singapore. So, could you please tell us more about it?
Okay, sure. So the overall application process in Singapore is mainly focused on your academics. So in order to get into the best universities in Singapore, like NUS and NTU, you need to have like a good academic profile. So you need to have like good scores in your boards. If you're giving any international examinations, you need to have good scores in them. So suppose you're doing CBSE or ISC, then you need like a minimum 95% to get in. And if you are giving international boards like IB, then you need to score at least 38 points. But these thresholds are not fixed. They keep changing every year, and it's not like a cutoff. It's the general pattern that has been noticed. So the universities don't release a particular cutoff, but this is what has been seen in the previous years. Now, apart from that, you also need to give English language proficiency tests, which are IELTS and TOEFL. IELTS and TOEFL, like you can give either one.
Okay.
And if you are giving IELTS, then you need like a minimum score of 6.5. If you're giving
Right.
TOEFL, then you need a minimum of 85 out of 120. So, yeah, mainly the Singaporean universities focus on these two things. Apart from that, if you've given any SAT or ACT examinations, then just feel free to add it in your application. If you have some really outstanding extracurricular activities or you've won certain Olympiads, then just add them to your application. They'll boost your profile and increase your chances of getting in.
Okay, that's nice. So, any SAT or ACT cutoff that is there for these applications?
Yeah, so if you're giving SAT subject tests, which are required in like STEM fields, so if you're giving physics, chemistry, maths, then a minimum of 700 is preferred. And for SAT and ACTs in general, if you have like a ACT score of above 30, then you might just add it to your application. And if you don't score that well, then you might not just add it in your application. It's not a
So it's not a compulsory requirement. Got it.
Yeah.
And apart from all these test scores, Hitesh, is there anything else you need to submit? Because for graduate applications, you need to write an SOP. So how about undergrad applications? What else do you need?
So for undergrad applications, a letter of recommendation or like a personal statement is not compulsory. It's optional. If you have one, then you can submit it. If you don't, then it's okay. Though, if you're applying for any tuition grants or scholarships, it is recommended that you submit your personal statement in order to increase your chances of getting it. Yep.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. What do you think stood out in your profile which got you an admit from NTU Singapore?
So I would say from the academic perspective, so I was from the IB board. So my IB score was 42 points out of 45, which is good enough to get into NTU. And then I also gave SAT subject tests in physics and maths. So my score in physics was 800 and in maths was 790, which is again good enough for universities in Singapore. Apart from that, I did submit a personal statement as well, in which I just covered a brief of what all extracurricular activities I'm interested in, and are there any other side projects that I've done while I was in school. That was pretty much it in my profile. That maybe was different than other profiles.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Hitesh. Coming to the topic now that you've mentioned scholarships and tuition grants, how do you go about it? What are the different kinds of scholarships that are available? And could you please tell us about the 6-year bond obligation scheme in Singapore?
Yeah, so the overall education cost in Singapore is is on an average between 17 to 25 lakhs per year
Per
for
year.
undergrads.
Hmm.
And that is only the education cost. On top of it, the food and housing on campus will be 8 to 10 lakhs per year. So food and housing on campus is much cheaper than outside. Everything is subsidized on
Right.
campus. So in total, if you're planning to do an undergrad in Singapore without scholarship or tuition grants, that will be around like 25 to 35 lakhs per year. Moving on, if suppose you want to apply for tuition grants, so the tuition grant in Singapore is offered by the Singapore government, wherein you
Right.
sign a bond agreement with the government for 3 years, and in that bond agreement, your tuition fees becomes half. So tuition fees is, which means that's only the education cost. Your food and housing will remain the same, so your education cost will almost become half. So it will be around 9 to 13 lakhs per year. And when
Okay.
you sign a bond with the government, then you are agreeing to work in Singapore for 3 years after your graduation. Whatever you earn during your 3 years of working, that will be for yourself, and the Singapore government will not take any part of it. So the only obligation is to work in Singapore for 3 years.
So Hitesh, just to clarify, this is the tuition grant that you're talking about. So this tuition grant, it applies for 3 years while you're studying, where your 50% of the fees is subsidized. And then after you graduate, you're supposed to work in Singapore for 3 years. Am I right? So can you tell us about the 6-year bond obligation in Singapore and what is that about?
Okay, sure. So the 6 year bond obligation is for scholarships, which is again like by the Singapore government. So in
Hmm.
the 6 year bond, the obligation is to work in Singapore for 6 years. And in return, the government will subsidize all your studies here, that is all your education costs and also your food and housing costs. So you'll get a stipend every month by the government for your expenses here. And you don't need to pay anything. And yep, so that is the 6 year bond, which is the scholarship.
Okay, so the main difference here is that for the 3-year bond, 50% fees is reduced. Otherwise, all living expenses you have to pay on your own. But if you are going for the 6-year bond obligation, then the complete tuition fee is waived off. Your housing expenses are taken care of, living expenses taken care of. On top of that, you also get a stipend from the Singapore government. But provided you work in Singapore for 6 years after you graduate. Is that right?
Yep,
Okay, so I think this will clear it out for a lot of people. So thank you so much, Hitesh. Now that the fees is actually very high, and say if somebody is even going for like a 3-year tuition grant, is there any way to make up for the remaining part of the tuition fee or living expenses? So, what is the scenario like for part time jobs while you're studying in Singapore?
Oh, okay. So I would say there are a lot of opportunities here for part-time. So the university itself offers a lot of part-time jobs, and you can find part-time jobs in all kinds of fields. Like if you are into software development or data science, you can
Mm-hmm.
find part-time jobs in that. Or if you're just looking for something simple, then simple data entry jobs also are available. And apart from that, if you're looking for some good professional experience as well, then there are a lot of companies outside which hire part-time students, and you can easily manage your living expenses while working part-time.
Okay, so that's good. Um, Now coming to why did you decide to study abroad rather than in India, Hitesh? Any particular reason why you did not choose to go for your undergrad here?
Yeah, actually, like there are a couple of reasons. So the first is pretty straightforward, like the university rankings. So although there are a lot of prestigious Indian engineering universities, their rankings, international rankings, are not that good. And I was aiming for higher ranked universities. So this was the
Okay.
first reason.
Hmm.
And the second reason was the infrastructure. If you compare the infrastructure level between Indian universities and universities abroad, suppose Singapore, then there's like a huge gap. So when I was applying for universities, I wasn't very sure which particular degree I would like to go for, but I knew that I wanted to do something in STEM. Hence, like good infrastructure, good research facilities, state of the art labs and equipment was something which was very important for me. So that was one more reason I decided to apply abroad. Then I think apart from that, it's just like foreign universities have a wider variety of courses and better career opportunities, I would say. Then it's also about experiencing new culture and lifestyle.
Absolutely. Any particular reason why you decided to come to Singapore? Because for most students, either UK, Europe, or even US is a preference when it comes to completing their education, especially in engineering. So why Singapore?
So there are a lot of factors why I chose Singapore. So the first factor that was very important for my parents was that Singapore is very close to India. So it's just like a 5 or 6 hour flight from India. Then the second factor was as compared to other Western countries like US, UK, Australia, Singapore is much cheaper. The cost of living is high, but education here is cheaper than other countries. So in total, if you compare education in Singapore versus in other Western countries, it's cheaper.
Okay.
Then the third thing would be definitely like there's very high Indian population here. So that was also one more important factor for me personally. I think, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, all right, nice. So, on that, Hitesh, could you please tell me a little bit about your student life at NTU and what are some of the things you participated in, or in general, how has it been from India moving to Singapore?
Okay, sure. So, first of all, I would like to highlight the fact that it has changed drastically. I've become much more independent. I've developed personally quite a lot. So, apart from that, I would say like NTU especially is like has a very beautiful campus. There are a lot of food options here, so I can try a wide variety of cuisines here, whether it's Indian, Mexican, Chinese, Malay, or like any other type of cuisine. Then I would say the community events that happen in NTU are also really fun. So since Singapore is a place which has a lot of different cultures, so like the Chinese, the Malay, the Indians, the variety of community events that you get to see is very different. So you experience the Chinese culture, you experience the Malay culture, and yeah. And then apart from that, the extracurricular. So on the extracurricular activities front, NTU has over 100 interest clubs, and I myself am part of like a tech club which focuses on fostering the spirit of innovation and technology in NTU. So I'm president of a club called IEEE NTU Student Branch, wherein we organize tech-related events like workshops and hackathons. So just recently, we organized one of the largest student-run hackathons of Southeast Asia. The overall experience was really fun. You get to learn a lot apart from just academics. You get to develop your leadership skills, management skills.
What about the population of the Indian community in Singapore? And do you have a lot of Indian friends there, or how is it like?
Yeah, definitely. So there are a lot of Indians present in Singapore, and in NTU itself, I have a lot of Indian friends, and we do celebrate events like Holi and Diwali. And in terms of Indian food, like if you're a vegetarian, suppose I am a vegetarian, I can easily find vegetarian food all around Singapore, and I can even find like a lot of authentic Indian dishes like butter naan, butter paneer, and all authentic dishes. So yeah, that is also one more part I really like about Singapore and NTU.
That's amazing. Sounds so good to hear. So thanks so much for sharing that, Hitesh. Now coming to another question that a lot of students ask usually, which is what's the scenario for the job opportunities in Singapore right now after the pandemic? I mean, if somebody's spending so much money and going abroad to study, is it worth it? And what kind of job opportunities are available there?
Okay, sure. So getting a job in Singapore post COVID has become difficult, but I would say like if you are from a university like NUS, NTU, you can find a job if you're persistent enough. I know a lot of my friends who have been persistent and are actively looking for jobs, and they eventually find one. So I would say it's not that bad. And as compared to other countries, Singapore still has like a very good job market.
That's good to hear, Hitesh. Thanks for that. Another question that students ask a lot is there a difference between NTU and NUS? Firstly, when it comes to application procedures for both the universities, and secondly, when it comes to getting jobs, do NUS students have a better opportunity at getting jobs as compared to NTU students? What is it like?
Okay, so there is a difference, I would say, and NUS is generally considered better in that way. So if you have graduated from NUS, you'll have higher chances of getting a job. But then again, university is only one part of your job profile.
Correct.
So it depends on what kind of internships you have, what projects have you worked on, what's your academic profile, and is there anything special in your profile that that will be an advantage to the company. And that is one thing. And in terms of applying to NUS and NTU, I would say getting into NUS again is tougher. NUS has higher thresholds for scores, whereas as compared to NTU. Apart from that, in terms of the education, I would say NUS, NTU both have really good educational facilities and are almost equal in that sense. They have really good research facilities, both the universities have the best faculty that you can find in Singapore, and both universities are very well connected. So after you graduate, you both the universities organize a career fair wherein different companies come to the university
Right.
or connect with you virtually, where you can where you get an opportunity to chat with them and discuss other opportunities with them.
Okay, sounds good. So, Hitesh, thank you so much for joining us today. I think this conversation is going to help a lot of students in making a better decision whether they want to study in Singapore or not. If there was one final piece of advice that you would give to students applying to Singapore, what would that be?
Well, I would say if you want to get into universities like NTU and NUS, then the only thing you need to focus on is having like a good score. So scoring good marks on your boards. And if you're giving any extra examinations like SAT subject tests or any national science Olympiads, then just make sure that you score well on those. If your academic profile is good enough, then you will surely get into Singapore.
Okay, all right. So thank you so much, Hitesh. It was lovely chatting with you. Thanks a lot.